She called it childish, a waste of time. My art, my passion, dismissed with a flick of her perfectly manicured hand. The sting of her words was nothing compared to the silence that followed, the kind of silence that amplifies every awkward cough, every uncomfortable shuffle. That night, I learned that some people don't just kill your joy, they bury it in front of a live audience. But what they don't know is, sometimes, dead things bloom. This is the story of how my passion was murdered, and how, from its ashes, I found a love that truly saw me. I'm Ethan, 31, Sarah, 30, and I had been together for 4 years. She was brilliant, driven, a rising star in her corporate world. I was an aspiring comic book artist. My evenings and weekends were spent sketching, writing, bringing my fantastical worlds to life. Sarah tolerated it, or so I thought. She saw it as a quirky hobby, something cute I did when I wasn't being her supportive boyfriend. Last month, my company held its annual innovation showcase. It was a casual event, a chance for employees to share personal projects. I saw it as a rare opportunity to show Sarah, and maybe some colleagues, what I was truly passionate about. I'd been working on a new graphic novel concept, Etherbound, for months. It was deeply personal, a story about finding magic in the mundane. I spent hours preparing a small display, a few concept sketches, and a synopsis. I even made a small, hand-drawn mini-comic to give out. When I told Sarah about it, she just sighed. "Are you really going to parade that around, Ethan? It's just ... comics. You're a grown man." I brushed it off, told myself she didn't understand. She just had a different kind of brain, more logical, less imaginative. I wanted to make her proud, to show her this other side of me. The showcase was buzzing. I was nervous but excited. Sarah arrived late, sweeping in with a group of her executive friends, all dressed impeccably. She gave me a quick, distracted kiss. "Don't embarrass me," she whispered half-jokingly, before heading to the open bar. My heart sank a little, but I pushed it away. This was my moment. Later, as I was explaining Etherbound to a genuinely interested colleague, Sarah and her friends drifted over, drinks in hand. "Oh, Ethan's little drawings," she chirped, a little too loud. My colleague politely smiled. "It's a graphic novel concept, actually," I corrected, feeling my cheeks warm. "It's about..." "Oh, please, honey," Sarah cut in, a dismissive wave of her hand. "He spends all his free time scribbling superheroes. Honestly, it's just a childish fantasy. Don't encourage him, Mark. He should be focusing on his career, not these silly little cartoons." The smile slid off my colleague's face. Sarah's friends chuckled. I stood there, holding my precious mini-comic, feeling like a fool. My blood ran cold. The buzzing showcase faded into a muffled hum. It was like I was holding a piece of my soul out to her, and she had stomped on it with her high heel, right in front of everyone. "Silly little cartoons." The words echoed in my head. My eyes burned. I felt every single stare. A woman standing nearby, across the aisle, just listening, discreetly winced. "I managed a week. I was just sharing my passion." "Passion," Sarah scoffed. "Honey, passion is for things that make money, things that matter. This is just an expensive hobby that keeps you from adulting." She laughed, a sharp, brittle sound, and steered her friends away. "Come on, let's get another round. Leave Ethan to his art." I stood there for maybe 3 seconds. Felt like an eternity. Then, I gently placed my mini-comic down, turned around, and walked away. Didn't look back, didn't run, just walked out of the hall, got into my car, and drove home. When I got back to our apartment, I didn't yell. I didn't even pack dramatically. I just started methodically clearing out my art supplies, my sketchbooks, my drawing tablet, my special pens. I carefully packed them into boxes, then moved on to my clothes, my books, my small collection of vintage action figures. I left all the furniture. It was mostly hers, or bought together. I didn't want the arguments. I just wanted out. I'd kept my old small studio apartment, renting it out to a friend. Luckily, their lease was up. She got home around 11 p.m. The texts started immediately. "Where are you? Your art stuff is gone. Are you seriously throwing a tantrum about earlier? It was just a joke. This is so childish. You can't just leave. Ethan, answer your phone." I sent one text back. "You were right. It's childish. I fixed it." Then I blocked her number. That should have been the end. Clean break. Move on. less learned about public humiliation and trusting someone with your heart. But Sarah had other plans. So, after I moved out, I expected Sarah to rage for a bit, then move on. She had too much pride to chase after a childish artist. Right, wrong. The first week, she went through the stages. Anger showed up at my old studio apartment, banging on the door. Bargaining, sent emails about how we could work through this miscommunication. Depression posted cryptic, sad quotes on Instagram about unappreciated efforts. Denial told mutual friends we were taking a break because I needed space to mature. But when none of that worked, she got creative. She started showing up places she knew I'd be. The small indie coffee shop where I worked on my sketches. The gallery openings I sometimes attended. Even my weekly D&D game night at a friend's place. Each time, with the same casual energy. Oh, what a coincidence. Fancy meeting you here. Like I was supposed to forget she'd publicly shamed my life's passion in front of my colleagues. The real kicker was when she started revising history. She told people I was too sensitive and overreacted to a tough love comment, and that I'd just abandoned her. No mention of the silly little cartoons, the public humiliation, nothing. Just poor Sarah, victim of her artist boyfriend's fragile ego. I stayed quiet, didn't correct anyone, just kept drawing, kept living. Then something interesting happened. I got a LinkedIn message from someone named Clara Vance. Took me a second to place the name. She was the woman who'd winced during Sarah's performance at the showcase. Hi Ethan, not sure if you remember me from the Innovation Showcase. I just wanted to say, I'm really sorry about what happened. That was uncalled for. Your graphic, novel concept sounded genuinely interesting. Nobody deserves that, especially not for sharing something they're passionate about. Hope you're doing well. I stared at that message for a while. Someone from that corporate world actually thought Sarah was wrong. I replied, thanks, Clara. No need to apologize. Wasn't your circus. I'm doing great, actually, and still working on Etherbound. She responded, that's fantastic to hear. Don't let anyone dim your spark. I'd love to see it sometime, if you ever share your work publicly again. We messaged back and forth a bit, nothing deep, just casual conversation about art, creativity, and the pressures of corporate life. She seemed cool, funny, and surprisingly understanding. She mentioned she used to dabble in photography herself. I know this is random, I wrote, but would you want to grab coffee sometime? I promise not to bring my portfolio on the first date, haha. She sent back a laughing emoji, only if you promise not to let anyone tell you your art isn't valid. Coffee sounds great. How about that indie place on Elm Street? I heard they have great matcha lattes. We met that Thursday. Just coffee, just talking. Found out she was a product manager, loved independent films, and had a surprisingly dry wit. She told me about the office dynamics, how Sarah had a reputation for being brilliant, but also incredibly condescending, especially to anyone she deemed unprofessional or unambitious. That day though, Clara shook her head. Even people who usually agreed with her were uncomfortable. Her public put-down became this whole thing. Some thought it was hilarious. A few thought she had a point about focusing on career, but most people agreed she handled it terribly. Terribly is one way to put it. We laughed, kept talking. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into, we should do this again. Started meeting up regularly. Still just friends, mostly. I wasn't trying to rush into anything, and she was respectful. Of that, we bonded over obscure documentaries, shared art memes, grabbed food when we were both free.
Then Sarah found out. Don't know how. Maybe she still had a spy in the office. Or maybe she saw Ethan and me out somewhere. But one night, Ethan called me. Sarah just confronted me. Said I was violating some unspoken X-code by hanging out with you. I told her there was no code for publicly humiliating someone. I'm sorry, Ethan. I didn't think she'd it gets better. She then told me you were obsessive, controlling, and that's why she had to set boundaries that day. I asked her if insulting my art was setting boundaries. She said I didn't understand the full context. What did you do? I told her the full context was witnessed by about 30 people, and it wasn't a good look for her. Then I left. She didn't like that, Ethan. I don't want to cause problems at your work. Clara, stop. She doesn't get to dictate who I'm friends with. Plus, HR already has a file on her for other stuff. This just added to it. Other stuff, interesting. That weekend, Sarah escalated. She showed up at the art gallery opening where Ethan and I were attending, walked right up to us. "Really," she said, looking between us. "This is what you're doing now." "Hi, Sarah," Ethan said calmly. "We're enjoying the art. I can see that. How long has this been going on?" "Enjoying art for about an hour now." "Don't be cute, Ethan. You know what I mean," I spoke up. "We're friends, Sarah. Is that a problem? Friends, right? Is that what you're calling it?" "Yes," Ethan said. "That's literally what we're calling it, because that's what it is." Sarah laughed bitterly. "God, Ethan, you really are pathetic. Still clinging to these childish hobbies, and now you're bringing other people into your little fantasy world. Did you bring her your stupid cartoons too?" "No," Ethan replied calmly. "Learned my lesson about sharing my passion with people who don't appreciate it." Her face twitched. "I was having a bad day, and you chose to handle it by embarrassing me in public. That was your choice. Living with the consequences is also your choice." "Consequences? What consequences?" "You left." "Yes," Ethan said, "that was the consequence." She stood there, mouth opening and closing like a fish. Then she looked at me. "Good luck with this one. He's exhausting. Sensitive, always in his head, probably already designing your wedding invitations in his sketchbook." I sipped my wine. "Sounds better than someone who belittles their partner's dreams in public." Sarah stormed off. Posted later about fake friends and loyalty on her Instagram story. That night, Ethan texted, "So, that was fun. I'm really sorry about that. Stop apologizing for her behavior, but question, yeah, are you designing our wedding invitations in your head? Because I'd like input on the color palette." He laughed so hard I could almost hear it through the phone. "We weren't dating. Not yet, but maybe."
Final update. Okay, so a lot has happened since that gallery confrontation. Buckle up. First, Clara and I did start dating. Took it slow, made sure we were both in it for the right reasons. She was patient, understanding, and absolutely loved my silly little cartoons. In fact, she loved Etherbound. She even offered to help me with some digital art techniques. The thing about Clara was, she saw the humiliation happen. She knew exactly who I was at my most vulnerable, my most passionate, my most childish self, and she still wanted to know me, to encourage me. Wild. Meanwhile, Sarah was spiraling. After the gallery thing, she started a subtle campaign at work about how Clara betrayed professional solidarity by dating her ex. Problem was, nobody really cared. Turns out, when you publicly belittle your partner's passion, people remember that. Then came the performance reviews. See, what I didn't know when we were together was that Sarah had been skating on thin ice at work for a while. Her condescending leadership style had led to numerous complaints, especially from interns and junior employees. Clara told me, without breaking confidentiality, that HR had been documenting a pattern of behavior that created a hostile work environment. The Innovation Showcase incident, witnessed by everyone, was apparently discussed as a prime example of her problematic interpersonal skills. Sarah's review came back with needs significant improvement in team dynamics and emotional intelligence, and a mandatory referral to executive coaching. She was furious, posted on LinkedIn about toxic workplaces that stifle strong, direct women. But here's where she really messed up. She started trying to sabotage Clara at work. Nothing obvious, just little things. Forgetting to include her in key emails, scheduling meetings when she knew Clara was out, taking credit for joint projects, petty stuff. Clara, being a meticulous product manager, documented everything. Every email, every meeting, every instance. She had receipts like a tax auditor. 3 months into dating Clara, I knew she was special. Not because she was the opposite of Sarah, but because she was completely herself. She brought me energy drinks when I pulled all-nighters on Etherbound. She listened to my endless plot ideas. She cheered for me when I landed a small publishing deal for Etherbound. I started thinking about the future, like really thinking about it. 4 months in, went ring shopping. Not because I was rushing, but because when you know, you know. Found a beautiful emerald-cut ring that reminded me of her quiet strength and vibrant spirit. Elegant, clear, perfect. 5 months in, Sarah got transferred to a different department. Officially, it was a strategic reassignment for cross-functional development. Unofficially, everyone knew it was because she couldn't work professionally with Clara anymore. The new department was compliance, from high-profile client accounts to auditing spreadsheets. She blamed me, of course. Sent an email to my personal address. She must have found it somewhere about how I'd ruined her career and turned everyone against her with my childish drama. I didn't respond, just forwarded it to HR at her company, since contacting me clearly violated some policy Clara had mentioned about workplace conduct. 6 months in, last week was the official launch party for Etherbound, a small event at a local gallery, partly sponsored by Clara's company's innovation fund. Clara was there, beaming, more proud than anyone. At the end of the night, as we stood under a spotlight, I told her I had one more dedication for the evening. I took her hand. Clara, you've made the last 6 months better than the last 4 years. You've shown me what it's like to be with someone who actually sees and celebrates my passion, even my silly little cartoons. I dropped to one knee. Will you marry me? She said yes, cried a little, made a joke about hoping I hadn't designed the ring in my sketchbook. I had the real one waiting in my pocket. We took a selfie with the ring, surrounded by my art, posted it the next day. Sweet, simple announcement. Lots of congrats from friends, family, even former colleagues. Then the next day happened. Clara and I walked into her office building to grab lunch. Same building, same security guard who'd seen me rush out that humiliating day. He grinned when he saw me, still drawing those silly little cartoons. He chuckled. More than ever, I grinned back. As the elevator doors opened on the 3rd floor, there was Sarah, in the marketing department, holding a visitor's badge. Our eyes locked. She saw Clara's left hand extended, showing off her new ring to a coworker. The look on Sarah's face, the absolute shock, the rage, the disbelief. She marched over. Are you kidding me? Hi Sarah, I said. Here for a meeting. You're engaged to her. Yes, it's been 6 months. 6 good months, Clara added, pulling me closer. Thanks, babe. This art show is beautiful, and so is this. You're welcome. Ready for lunch? Sarah wasn't done. This is insane. You barely know each other. He insulted you at the showcase, Clara. Clara laughed. Actually, I messaged him first and pursued him, if we're being technical, and he definitely didn't insult my art. This whole thing is probably illegal. Workplace harassment, emotional distress. Security appeared. Apparently, visitor badges don't include yelling privileges in the lobby. As they escorted her out, she turned back, screaming, he'll ditch you for being childish too. He's too sensitive. He's a liability. Clara called out, good. I like a man with emotions. And his art is anything but childish. The entire office applauded. Actually applauded. Later, we found out Sarah was there to interview for her old position. They'd been desperate enough to consider bringing her back despite the transfer. The hiring manager told Clara they'd be going in a different direction. That night, Sarah posted a long rant on social media about karma, fake people, and how some people can't handle strong, creative women. Nobody engaged. Even her mum just posted a sad emoji. We're getting married next spring. Small ceremony, family, and close friends. The security guard from the building already asked if he's invited. He is. Sarah's still in compliance. Still single, according to mutual friends. Still posting inspirational quotes about knowing your worth and not settling. Clara and I are launching Etherbound Book 2 next year, and she often leaves little sketches on my desk now. Turns out, when someone actually appreciates your passion, they don't mind if you're a little childish. They just buy you a sketchbook and call you. There's